You know what? I really want to get straight into it. A very, very positive note for Son HeungMins. Question marks about him. He was dropped from the starting 11, Scott, and before the game, Antonio Conte was talking about it. I tell you what, he's going to look like a genius now, Conte that is, because he brings on Son, and who gets the hat-trick?
Yeah, you could argue how many would he have scored if he'd have started.
That is the other argument.
No, but look, I mean, absolutely, he would have looked at Son, and we've been discussing, haven't we, about how really he's the perfect player to have, because he wouldn't have sulked, he wouldn't have been unhappy, but he still would have said to himself, right, I'm going to get on the pitch at some point and I've got to make an impact. That's what you're talking about, a top professional and a top player as well. And look, we all really like him as a player. We don't know him as a person, but he just seems one of those that you'd want him in your team. So happy for him, first and foremost, because he deserves to be on the score sheet. He's a team player, first and foremost. And you know what? They're cracking goals. They're goals as if he's on absolute top form. You wouldn't believe if someone come in and was the first game at Spurs of the season they'd seen and say, why is this guy not starting? But look at these goals. Look at the way he just manipulates the ball. And from the counter-attack, again, Jamie and I were talking, weren't we, about shots from outside the box. Generally speaking, there were far too many from Leicester. But the way he's been able to do that, because they're on the counter-attack, and again, look at the space here. It's just far too much, but you've got to give it to him. You know, they're two cracking goals, and I'm really pleased he's got a hat-trick.
I think the professionalism of Son says a lot, doesn't it? I mean, he wouldn't have been happy being dropped. I know JMO's made the point there was, I think, 4 players taking out the team from Sporting Lisbon, but you know as a player if you're not playing well. You know what your contribution is and your standards, and he will know. And it's easy to, his body language, you would have seen it if he'd have come on and been sulking today. But like Scott says, he's come on and he wants to make an impact. I mean, there was energy about his play. He was bright, he was alert, good, intelligent runs, what we are accustomed to seeing from him. And his finishing was there today. He didn't snap at anything, he took his opportunities. And I'm with Scott, and I'm sure JMO will highlight the point as well. I think we're all made up for him, because he's just a genuinely great footballer, but a nice fella as well. And I think he's a manager's dream. I think, you know, he wouldn't have been knocking on Conte's door. He's the type of player to say, do you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong by what I do on the pitch, rather than what I'm going to do in the press or knock on your door. I'm made up for him.
It's interesting. You obviously haven't seen his documentary, though.
No.
His documentary basically explains all that. The hard-working, his father's hard, pushed him all the way to be better, to be the best, whatever, extra training after his Tottenham training, whatever. So he was the perfect player in that sense. What I do like was, like I tried to articulate before the game, he wasn't shooting badly. Scott, what you were saying about passing, I didn't look at all his passes prior to this game, but his shooting wasn't bad. It was just slightly off. Well, today was on. And it was whatever little adjustment, whether it was being dropped, whatever it was, that was going to happen at some point. And the best thing is that it's happened straight away. Now the Conte's got the big issue of saying, what's my starting lineup in the next match? It's kind of...
Can I pick 12 players?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But that's the situation you want. You want to be able to take someone off, say, come back and do something right. Kulusevski starts the game straight away, an impact with a cross and the assist for the first goal. You know, Conte's done a lot of things before and during that game, which have turned out to what has been a demolition of a weak side, but a demolition which was justified.
I could just imagine Richarlison, the first one goes in from Son, being a team player, and then when the third one goes in, he's like, oh, I ain't getting back in this team now. It's like,
back to the bench.
Gutted.
Well, Conte's got 2 weeks to make up his mind on that, and it's a North London derby as well, by the way. That's next fixture for Spurs, so that's a tasty one to look out for.